Good day, everyone. Welcome to our 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world subject. This is Miss Ira Bombasin. I will be your instructor for this subject. Okay, so class for today we will be having lesson 2, which is the periods of Philippine literature from pre-colonial to the contemporary period. Okay, so for our lesson 1, we are done with introduction to Philippine literature. So for our lesson 2, here's our goals or objectives. The first one is to learn the dimensions of Philippine literary history from pre-colonial to contemporary. And that's number 2, enumerate the most important points per period of Philippine literature. Okay, so let me show you the history of Philippine literature. These are some of our national heroes in the Philippines. So now we will be talking about the periods of Philippine literature, starting from pre-colonial period. Second is the Spanish colonial period, or also known as the period of enlightenment. The third one is the American regime. Fourth is the Japanese period. And lastly is the contemporary period or the present time. Okay? So if you would have noticed, ito rin yung mga sumakop sa Pilipinas. Dahil malaki ang impluwensyang naibigay ng mga mananakop sa literatura ng Pilipinas o ng mga Pilipino. So we'll start at pre-colonial and then pumasok na mga Espanyol na nakop na sa Pilipinas. Nandito na yung mga impluwensya nila. And then sumunod naman ang mga Amerikano sa pananakop. Sumunod naman ang mga Japanese. Okay? So we have 5 periods of Philippine literature. Actually, for other resources, there are 6, no? There are 8, but in here, I just summarize everything, and I think this is the most important ones. So let's focus on these 5 periods of Philippine literature. All right. So the first one is the pre-colonial period. This is the roots of Philippine literature, or the roots of Philippine literature can be traced back to the pre-colonial period. So, pag sinabi pala nating pre-colonial period, eto na yung ugat ng literaturang Pilipino. So, dito nagsimula ang lahat. Literature in this period is any literature which existed before the Spaniards entered the Philippine soil. So, sa pre-colonial period, lahat ng literatura na nag-e-exist, na nagamit, na nalikha, bago man pumatong ang paa ng mga Espanyol sa lupain ng Pilipinas or sa lupa ng Pilipinas, yun po ang tinatawag natin na pre-colonial period. Literature was based on oral tradition since no form of writing existing during that period. So now we found out na hindi pa pala uso ang pagsusulat ng literatura noong pre-colonial period kasi ang gamit nila sa pagpapasa, no, ng mga likha nila noon or yung tinatawag nating salindila or oral tradition. Okay, so please take note of that. Noong pre-colonial period, oral tradition pa lang ang gamit nila. And then, pre-colonial literature explains how life and the world were created in the form of legends and myths. So later on, we will find out what's the meaning of legends and myths as well as the other literary forms in pre-colonial period at kung ano ba yung pinagkaiba ng legends and myths. Kasi minsan or madalas ay feeling ng mga tao parehas lang sila, no? So, there are also people who are confused about the differences of these two. So, later on ay malalaman natin kung ano nga ba yung pinagkaiba ng legends and myths. So, yung mga literature daw noong panahon ng pre-colonial, ang mga content nun or subject matter ay pinapaliwanag lang yung buhay in general, no? Kung paano nagmula ang mundo, okay? In the form of legends and myths. Okay? What else? Ano pa yung subject matter or content ng literature noong pre-colonial period? Noong number 1, first period of Philippine literature. So, subject matter is about the common experience of the people in the village, like their experiences in food gathering, caring for the children, nature, etc. Okay, so ang inspiration din pala nila nun sa literature nila ay yung mga pang-araw-araw lang nila na ginagawa 'no, yung pinagkakaabalahan lang nila katulad ng, paghahanap ng pagkain, paglikom ng pagkain 'no, pag-aalaga ng mga anak, tapos the nature in general, okay. At saka similar content 'no. But take note or what you need to remember is ang inspiration ng mga literature nila nitong pre-colonial period is what they do in their everyday life. Kasi yung buhay nila noon ay umiikot lang sa paghahanap ng pagkain, no? Kaya ay pagtatanim, no? Paggawa ng pagkain, um, pag-aalaga ng mga anak, kaya makikita niyo sa picture, merong mga baby, at saka nature in general. Okay. So, what is about or what are the Philippine literature? What is going on in terms of Philippine literature during this pre-colonial period? So, let me introduce to you. When we talk about pre-colonial Philippine literature, this tells the accounts of great people or supernatural heroes as well as stories of gods and goddesses. The literary forms common in this period are riddles, proverbs, folk songs, folk tales, sayings, epics, legends, and myths. Okay? So again, ang tawag po dito sa mga bulleted ay literary forms. At noong pre-colonial, ang uso doon ay mga supernatural heroes, yung mga gods and goddesses. Okay? So isa-isahin natin yung meaning na itong mga bulleted or literary forms. The first one we have the riddles or bugtong. This uses the metaphor because it reveals subtle resemblances between two unlike objects. One is put to the test of answering riddles. Okay? So I know familiar naman kayo sa bugtong, ang English po diyan ay riddles. And according sa description natin dito or meaning natin na nakalagay dito sa PowerPoint ay pinahuhulaan daw. Now one is put to the test of answering riddles. And we have this example, maliit na bahay puno ng mga patay. Okay, sige. Once you have once you are in this time of the recorded lesson, I want you to send in our group chat the answer for this bugtong. So I'll know who are those persons, who are those students who are actually watching the recorded lesson I've sent or I'll be sending in our GC. Okay. Sige, check nga natin yung mga masisipag dyan. Baka kasi nag-send si Miss I ng video lecture, hindi naman pinapanood, nag-heart lang at nagsasabit ng activity, but 5 minutes lang ang pinanood, hindi man lang tinapos ang video lecture. Sige ha, let's check. Okay? Next one, after the bugtong, we have the proverbs or salawikain. This is the guide of wisdom that shows the community's norms, beliefs, and values which are composed of short rhyming verses. Okay? So pag sinabi naman nating proverbs or salawikain, ang example natin dyan ay nasa Diyos ang awa, nasa tao ang gawa. So usually kapag ikaw yung nasa sitwasyon na nauubusan ka na ng wisdom or pag-asa or hope sa buhay na ito na yung, mga ibinabato, isa sa mga ibinabato o kaya kung kailangan mo ng isang tap or click kapag medyo nawawala-wala ka na sa wisyo 'no, binibigyan ka ng mga ganitong salawikain na nasa Diyos ang awa, nasa tao ang gawa, na kahit anong prayer mo 'no, kung prayer lang ang gagawin mo at ikaw ay nakahiga lang diyan, wala kang sipag, wala kang sikap, wala pong mangyayari sa prayer natin. Kasi nga according sa salawikain na ito, kailangan samahan ng gawa 'no, which is tayo na yung gagawa, tao na. Yun na yung part natin, kung nakapag-pray ka na, okay. So, gawin mo na yung part mo and your part is to make a move, to make an action, to make a decision, to be industrious, to be, perseverance or to show perseverance 'no, to be persevere in your life. Okay, the next one we have the folk songs. Okay, this expresses the hopes and aspirations of the people's lifestyle and their love for it. It mirrors the earliest forms of culture, and many of these are 12 syllables. Okay, so in most cases, ang folk songs ay 12 syllables, and ang content na mga folk songs ay nagbibigay rin ng pag-asa at inspirasyon sa buhay ng tao. Okay, and kung gaano nila kamahal ang buhay. For example ay Leron Leron Sinta. Next, we have the folk tales or kwentong bayan. Ito naman ay made up of stories about life, adventure, love, horror, and humor where one can derive lessons about life. So, pag sinabi nating kwentong bayan or folk tales, meron at meron niyang matututunan at the end of the story. No? So, ang example natin ay si Pagong at si Matching. Kung maaalala nyo, nung mga bata pa tayo, laging eto ang kwento na ibinibigay sa atin ng mga lolo't lola natin, tiya at tiyo 'no. O kaya naman kapag sobrang kulit ng mga bata, ang mga panakot ay etong picture na inilagay ko 'no, yung mga manananggal, mga aswang, dati nga may mga sipay pa na tinatawag, kung familiar kayo doon nung panahon namin. Ang mga panakot sa'min ay, "Ayan nandiyan ang sipay, nandiyan ang aswang, nandiyan na ang tipaklong tuloy, tikbalang." Okey, so yun lang yung mga uunting panakot sa amin, which in turn of course created somehow horror 'no, sa mga bata. Kapag naman tinakot ng gano'n ay talaga namang natatakot kami. Bumabalik talaga kami, hindi na kami gumagala ng gabi 'no. And humor, of course, sa ibang story, when we say humor ay nakakatawa naman ito 'no. And si Pagong at si Matching, ito naman is about adventure, giving hopes as well and aspirations 'no. Ang tatandaan niyo lang kapag sinabing kwentong bayan ay halo-halo na yung, genre ng storya. Merong horror, merong love, merong humor, and at the end of it, there's always a lesson, okay. Alright. So the next one we have sayings or kasabihan. These are figurative words said by our ancestors which teach moral lessons. Ang example naman natin ng kasabihan ay if someone throws stone at you, throw back bread. Okay? So, hindi ito literal, no? Na kapag binato ka ng bato, ay batuhin mo ng tinapay. Siguro, if you're seeing it in a literal sense, matigas kasi yung bato. So kung gaganti ka dapat malambot yung ipambato mo and, at the same time makakain pa siya or magagamit pa siya ng tao 'no. So in short and figuratively, if we're going to define this, kasabihan or give meaning out of this saying 'no, we can say na kapag may ginawa sa'yong masama yung tao, gawan mo ng kabutihan 'no. Sabi nga ay walang mali sa paggawa ng mabuti. There's nothing wrong or you can never go wrong with kindness. Okay? So, yan ang ating kasabihan. Take note, these are figurative words. Okay? So, don't take it in a literal sense. Pero, kanina na ipasok pa rin natin kung paano yung literal na bato at tinapay, no? So, yun po kapag kasabihan, there's always a deeper meaning about it or behind it, okay? Next, we have epic. This is a long narrative poem that celebrates heroic deeds, okay? Pag po epic, mahabang tula 'no, na ipinapakita yung kagilas-gilas na katangian ng isang bayani kumbaga kung tawagin 'no. Yung itong taong 'to ay merong ginawa para maisalba ang ibang mga tao or ang lugar or ang mga hayop sa isang partikular na sitwasyon o lugar, okay. So our example for this is Biyag ni Lamang from Ilocos, Ibalon from Bicol, Darangan from Muslim. Okay, so the first one I asked you earlier kung ano yung sagot dun sa bugtong. Sige, lagyan natin ng number, yung isa-send din niyo sa GC natin. That's the first one. Anong sagot doon sa riddle na example natin? The second one, ano po kaya ang ibig sabihin ng biyag? Okay. Again, number two, ano po kaya ang ibig sabihin ng biyag? Kasi nakalagay dito, biyag ni Lamang from Ilocos. Okay. That's number two, ha? Okay, so our examples for epic, we have Biyag ni Lamang, Ibalon from Bicol, Darangan from Muslim. Okay, so the next Philippine literature in the pre-colonial period, we have the legends and the myth. So ito ning i-differentiate natin, 'di ba? I've said earlier, there are a lot of people or students who are confused about the difference of these two. So pag sinabi po nating legends, ito yung mga traditional story regarded as historical but does not have any actual proof or factual proof, no? Walang katibayan or katotohanan na talaga po itong nangyari sa totoong buhay. So, for example is Atlantis. Okay? Next, myth. A traditional story about people or events that involve supernatural gods and creatures. So, for our example, we have Hercules and Zeus. Pag sinabi naman nating myth, traditional story pa rin ito pero patungkol na sa mga tao at pangyayari na merong supernatural gods and creatures, no? Halimbawa, si Hercules and Zeus, kumbaga sila yung may mga power or extraordinary yung kanilang physical attributes, no? Hindi normal. Okay? So, yun naman yung mga myth. Okay? I hope you now learn about the difference between legends and myth. Okay? So, for our third question, I want you to differentiate legends and myth in your own terms. Okay? Wag na pong i-chat GPT or i-AI or wag nang gamitin itong description na nakalagay sa PowerPoint presentation that I prepared. Make use of your own words. What's your understanding about the difference of legends and myth? Okay? So I'll be writing it down in my notes sa phone. Hold on for a bit. Number one, answer for bugtong. Number two, I I forgot already. Meaning of biyag, our epic, and then own um interpretation or own understanding about the difference of legends and myth. Okay? All right. So we are done with the first period of Philippine literature. We are done with pre-colonial period. And the most important points that you have to remember in terms of the pre-colonial period is first one, oral tradition yung gamit noong panahon na ito. Okay? Second one, ito po ay nagsimula bago man tumungtong ang mga paan ng mga Espanyol sa lupa ng Pilipinas. So that's the second one. The third one, the subject matters you have to remember are food gathering, taking care of children, and nature, etc. Okay, so I think those are just the most important points for the pre-colonial period. Okay, the second one, we have the Spanish period. Okay, so for the Spanish period, of course, it was called Spanish period dahil dito na nanakop ang mga Espanyol. So this is the period of Spanish colonization started in 1565 during the time of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, the first Spanish Governor General in the Philippines. Again, sino nga ang first Spanish Governor General in the Philippines? That's Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Okay, what else happened during the Spanish period? Spanish language became the literary language. Okay, so noong pre-colonial, dahil wala pa namang mananakop na lumalapag sa Pilipinas, ang gamit pa lang nila ay ang wika ng Pilipinas. Okay, Tagalog pa rin ang gamit nila. However, nitong Spanish period, since naimpluwensyahan na ng mga Espanyol ang mga Pilipino, ang gamit na nila sa kanilang panunulat or pagsusulat ng mga literary pieces ay Spanish language. Okay? Remember that. The colonizers used the Catholic religion to substitute the existing tradition. Okay? So, dito na rin mas napalawig ang paggamit or pagkakaroon ng Katoliko bilang relihiyon ng mga Pilipino. Okay? So, dito mas lumakas yung impluwensya, napalawak ang Katoliko. So, yung mga tradisyon noong pre-colonial na hindi naman nagdadasal bago kumain or hindi naman nag-aantanda bago kumain o kaya ay pagkagising bago matulog, 'di ba gano'n sa Katoliko kailangan, magpe-pray ka na bago kumain, pagkatapos kumain, pagkagising, bago matulog. So yung mga existing tradition nung pre-colonial ay napalitan na nitong Spanish period. Nagkaroon na ng malaking impluwensiya ang pananampalataya, okey? Alright, what else? Literary works had the religious tone, 'no? Yung mga creatures nila, yung mga literary pieces nila patungkol na palagi sa pagsamba, sa pananampalataya, kung ano yung naidudulot sa atin ni Lord, 'no? Doctrina Christiana was the first book to be printed in the Philippines, written by Father Juan de Palancia in Tagalog and Father Domingo Nieva in Spanish. Okay? Again, Doctrina Christiana was the first book to be printed in the Philippines. The Spaniards rendered all writing systems inoperable. So, pinatigil po ang lahat ng writing systems noong Spanish period. Until the 19th century, the religious orders owned and managed the printing presses. So, yung mga religious orders, sila na yung naghawak ng mga printing press. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng lumalabas sa dyaryo, lahat ng nakikita ng mga tao na printed ay patungkol na sa pananampalataya or nakaayon sa gusto ng mga pare, ng mga namumuno sa Catholicism. Okay? Of course, to influence people as well. No? Yun yung goal nila. Kasi nga, yung literary pieces kasi malaki siyang ambag para maimpluwensyahan yung mga taong nakakabasa. Okay? So, dito, ang ginawa nila, ang humawak na ng mga printing presses or yung mga nagpiprint ng dyaryo or mga printed materials ay yung mga namumuno na din sa pananampalataya. So, para lahat ng mababasa ng mga tao ay nakaayon sa kanila, lahat ng ipiprint nila maganda tungkol sa pananampalataya, kung ano nagagawa ng Katoliko sa buhay ng tao. So, dahil doon, mas napalawak, mas napalawig, no, yung Katolisismo. Okay? The propaganda movement was formed. It is a reform movement that arose among young Filipino expatriates in the late 19th century. Okay, so yung propaganda movement, ito yung okay, so para magkaroon lang kayo ng idea, no, ang propaganda movement, ito ay, how could I say this, composed 'no or pinangunahan ng mga edukadong Pilipino or also known as the Ilustrados, okay, who sought to address the injustices and abuses of the Spanish colonial government. So, sila yung somehow nag-aklas, okay. So, hindi pala somehow, sila talaga yung nag-aklas kumbaga 'no. Sila yung, nakibaka para ipaalam yung mga hindi makatwiran or pang-aabuso na ginagawa ng mga Espanyol na mga or ng, gobyerno ng mga Spanish noong kapanahunan ng kanilang pananakop. So the movement aimed to promote reforms through literature, journalism, and political advocacy rather than through violent revolution. So instead na gumamit sila ng pisikalan, no, ang ginamit nila ay pagsusulat, okay, through writing. And let me introduce to you the people or the Filipinos who contributed a lot during the Spanish period as well as who led the propaganda movement. Okay. So, isa po dyan si Jose Rizal, si Dr. Jose P. Rizal, at ang kanya mga pen names ay Di Masalang, Laong Laan, at May Pag-asa. So, if I ask you, who is Di Masalang, who is Laong Laan, who is May Pag-asa? Siya po si Dr. Jose P. Rizal. So, kapag nagagawa sila ng literary pieces tungkol sa pag-aaklas 'no, sa gobyerno ng ng Spanish colonial government, they use their pen names, no, rather than their true names para hindi sila makilala. We also have the works of Jose Rizal. So ano ba yung mga important pieces niya or pinakasikat na ginawa ni Dr. Jose P. Rizal? The first one is we have Your Noli Me Tangere, or in English translation, Touch Me Not, El Filibusterismo, The Reign of the Greed, Mi Ultimo Adios, My Last Farewell, Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos, The Indolence of the Filipinos. Okay, so lumalakas na naman po ang ulan dito. I hope you're not hearing the sound of the rain, but more on my voice. So, in-adjust ko itong mic natin. Sana mas marinig niyo ang aking boses. If it's too much, you can adjust your volume on your end na lang. Okay po? Alright, so the second one, we have Marcelo H. Del Pilar. Okay? So, ang nickname niya ay Plaridel. Okay? So, ang ginawa niya pong literary piece ay tinawag na Dasalan at Tuksohan. Okay? And he is also the editor of the La Solidaridad. So, ang nickname niya ay Plaridel. And the last one I'll be presenting to you, who contributed a lot in the Spanish period as well as who led the propaganda movement, ay si Antonio Luna. So he wrote a scientific study on malaria entitled On Malarial Pathology, El Hematozorio del Paludismo, wrote a piece entitled Impressions, which dealt with Spanish customs and idiosyncrasies under the pen name Tagailog. So if I ask you, who is Tagailog? That is Antonio Luna. Okay? So let's have a recap of the most important points in the Spanish period. So the first one ay the Spanish general, he is Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. And then anong pinakang um pangyayari ng Spanish period or pinakamalaking contribution, okay, yun ay paglawak ng Katolisismo or the emergence of the Catholic religion during the Spanish period. The third one, Doctrina Christiana, was the first book published in the Philippines. Okay? What else? Naging inoperable na yung writing systems dahil ang mga religious teams or orgs na yung naghahawak ng mga printing systems, no? Yung mga namumuno na sa simbahang katolika, sila na yung nagmamanage ng mga nakikita ng mga tao sa dyaryo. What else? Nagkaroon ng propaganda movement or pag-aaklas na pinangunahan ni Dr. Jose Rizal, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, at saka Antonio Luna. Okay, so yun lang po ang inyong tatandaan sa Spanish period. Japanese tuloy, Spanish rather, the second Philippine literary period. Alright, the third one, nandito na tayo sa panggitna, we have the American period. So during the American colonization, of course, nanakop ang mga Amerikano, free public instruction for all children were introduced. So masasabi natin na hindi lang din naman panay negative yung naidulot ng mga nanakop sa Pilipinas, no? Dahil nitong American period, nagkaroon ng formal educational system ang Pilipinas. Okay? So, English was the medium of instruction in all levels. Ang paggamit din ng lengguaheng Ingles ay pinasimuno nitong American period wherein maraming Pinoy ang natutong gumamit ng lengguaheng ito, which is English is the universal language. So, kapag kayo'y mangingibang bansa, importante na alam nyong gamitin or marunong kayong gumamit ng English language. Dahil, again, this is the universal language. So, people are somehow required to learn about this if they are traveling abroad, because the people living there also know how to speak in English, or most of them, no? Okay, what else happened during the American period? So the use of English as medium of instruction introduced Filipinos to Anglo-American modes of thought, culture, and life ways that would be embedded not only in the literature but also in the psyche of the educated class. Okay? So yun nga ang paggamit ng lengguwaheng Ingles ay hindi lang nila nagagamit sa paggawa ng literary pieces, 'no? Kasi kung matatandaan ninyo kanina diniscuss natin na nung Spanish period, ang gamit nilang lengguwahe sa pagsusulat ay Spanish din, 'no? Ngayon naman dumating ang mga Amerikano sa American period, ang gamit naman nila ay Ingles, 'no, sa kanilang literary pieces. But in here, they want to emphasize na hindi lang sa literature nagagamit yung Ingles, but it also, shows that you are educated somehow because you can converse with other nationalities if you are aware or knowledgeable about the English language. Okay, so because of this, Philippine literature was imitative of the American models of writing. Okay, so marami nang na-adapt ang mga Pinoy, ang Philippine literature sa ways ng pagsusulat ng mga Amerikano or yung styles of writing nila aside from the language itself. Okay, so let me introduce to you the Filipino writers during the American period. Ito yung mga pinakasikat, okay? So we have Paz Marquez Benitez. She created Dead Stars. We have Manuel E. Argelia. He created How My Brother Leon Brought Home a Wife. Next, we have Francisco Arceliana and V.M. Gonzalez, Jose Garcia Villa. Okay, so that's it for the American period. For our fourth period, we have the Japanese period. So between 1941 to 1945, the development of Philippine literature was interrupted due to the Japanese colonization. So again, pag narinig nyo or nabasa yung word na colonization, yan ay pananakop. So ang nanakop naman sa Pilipinas no, nitong fourth period ay mga Japanese. During this period, there was no freedom of speech and of the press. So, pinatigil lahat ng forms ng speech release or press release, no? Yung sa mga dyaryo, what else? Kahit yung literary piece, hindi na pwede yon. Kahit yung pagbibigay nila ng sariling opinion verbally, hindi na rin pwede. They have to be very meticulous and very careful on what will come out from their mouths kasi ang freedom of speech and of the press ay walang kabuluhan dito sa Japanese period. They are very strict about that. So the newspapers in English were banned by the Japanese. This became a blessing in disguise as writers started writing in Filipino. So though banned or there were no freedom of the press and there were no freedom of speech, still there are people who are creating newspapers. Okay? And tinatawag itong blessing in disguise kasi nga noong American period, noong third period in the Philippine literature, no, ang gamit nilang lengguwahe ay Ingles. So ang mga Japanese nitong dumating na ang Japanese period, pinatigil nila yung paggamit ng English. Okay? Which in turn, tinawag na blessing in disguise ang Japanese period dahil ang mga Pilipino ay bumalik sa paggamit ng sarili nating wika. They start writing in Tagalog again in the Japanese period. Okay? So, the most common literary themes were nationalism, country, and life in the barrio. So, yun yung content ng mga writings nila noong Japanese period. Okay, so let me show you again Filipino journalists during the Japanese period. We have Salvador Lopez, Wilfrido Maria Guerrero, Raul Manglapus, and Carlos Bulusan. We also have Nick Joaquin, Fred Ruiz Castro, and Carlos Romulo. So that's it for the Japanese period. What you have to remember in this fourth period of Philippine literature is it is also called as the blessing in disguise because the Filipinos started writing in Tagalog again. And then, ang common themes dito ay nationalism, country, and life in the barrios. And then, during this period also, the third one ay walang freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Okay? Next and last, so that's number five, ha. Number five, contemporary period. The development of Philippine literature in various languages continues, especially with the new publications after the martial law years. So that's the first one you have to remember if we are talking about the contemporary period or the last period in the Philippine literature, the present period, the modern period, ito ay martial law years. Okay? This was a period of activism and literary revolution. The writers during this period used words to confront martial law and repression. Behind the scenes, oral literature flourished in the outlying communities of the Cebuanos, the Ilocanos, the Tagalogs, the Samals, and the Ilonggos. The Philippine novel has remained social realist. So we also have this most popular art forms. This is the second one you have to remember. Ang creations noong contemporary period, we have filmmaking. Okay, so dati literary pieces lang ng mga nakaraang period. Ngayon, meron na tayong filmmaking. Meron na tayong chick-lit, no? When we say chick-lit, this is chick literature. Pag sinabi nating chick, no, women 'to, okay? This is about literature about women, 'no? Kasi nga somehow ang mga babae natatawag na chicks, 'di ba? So, that is also why it is called chick lit, okay? So, pinaiksi lang siya, chick literature. Chick lit, this is about stories of women. And then graphic novels, when we talk about graphic novels, if you would have noticed, yung mga illustrations ay not in reality, kumbaga para siyang mga cartoon, cartoon or basta graphic ano, I forgot the term used but not real, okay? Not real photos, no. There's a touch of ICT, okay? So those are graphic novels. Very appealing ang mga pictures, ang mga colors, no, very vivid, hindi masakit sa mata, no, nakakaakit ang ang colors or presentation ng artwork dito sa graphic novels. Of course, meron din itong story because it is novel, okay? Alright, so additional in terms of contemporary period, established in 1950, the Palangka Memorial Awards for Literature had been giving cash prizes for short story, poetry, and one-act playwriting as an incentive to Filipino writers. Okay, so para mga Pinoy ay maengganyo magsulat, lumikha ng mga literatura, no, nagkaroon na ng recognition or appreciation sa ating mga authors, sa ating mga writers, sa ating mga artists. And it is called Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards for Literature, wherein dito nagbibigay sila ng cash prizes. Okay? Para ma-acknowledge naman yung mga writers natin, mga artists. So the prizes come from La Tondena Incorporated, the firm founded by the late Carlos Palanca Sr. So kaya din ang tawag doon sa recognition na to ay Carlos Palanca dahil siya din mismo yung nag-found or founded by, siya yung nagpanimula, kumbaga. Okay? So, let's have a recap for the contemporary period. The most important points you have to remember is it is under the martial law years. What else? The most popular art forms are filmmaking, chicklit, and graphic novels, as well as Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards for Literature has been founded or has been emerged during this period. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot about our lesson 2. Again, this is about the Philippine literary period, which started from pre-colonial period. The next one, Spanish period. The third one, American period. The fourth one, Japanese period. The fifth one, or the last one, is the contemporary period. Okay, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you and God bless. Take care. Maulan po today.